Matt Rife, the heartthrob comedian. Cancel culture's coming for him. Is he guilty? Is he innocent? And what influencer do I look up to that has a bad take on this? Let's talk about it. Haters. Everybody's got haters, am I right? But what happens when those haters form a group and launch a campaign to end your career? That is where we get to cancel culture. Now, no matter what kind of content you do online, at some point you're gonna come across hate because that's the internet for you these days. Isn't that right, user RG3JF3YD6N? Bro does know what he's talking about. Boo! However, we're not here to talk about my haters. Lord knows I could go on and on for days about that. Instead, we're here to talk about other people because I am E.G. Lately, which is your thumb on the pulse of culture. If you haven't read the banner, hello, or seen the title card, that's me. Hi. Although we're not here to talk about moi, which I wish we would. There's so many things I wish I could tell you about myself. Instead, we're here to talk about this guy.
I'm Matt Rife.
This is Matt Rife. Matt Rife is a comedian, up-and-coming comedian, every 30-something single mom's wet dream.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
At least that's what my Facebook tells me. So Matt's a comedian, and of course, being a comedian these days is really, really hard because you either have to be this completely boring woke show.
I've been getting a bit of negative feedback from my people, the lesbians.
Just that little clip put me to sleep. Sorry. Now, what it's like being a comedian these days is very, very difficult because it is hard to be really, really funny without being just a little bit offensive. The idea of a comedian is to point out real life situations and point out how funny they are. A lot like what I do on this channel, because the whole point of this is to laugh at the chaos together. You're gonna laugh and you're gonna like it. Most people use comedy as a way of dealing with really intense situations. With as sensitive as we've gotten in society, it's really, really hard to be a comedian and not get canceled at some point. At least the best comedians get canceled, in my opinion. Look at Dave Chappelle, one of the best comedians in the world. They attempted to cancel him, and Netflix was like, no, he makes us too much money. Go F off.
I'm not going to take you through all the agony I've been through.
Matt Rife's special is #1 on Netflix and was for a while until The Crown season finale came out. Then that kind of beat him. But #1, you don't get to #1 by not being funny, right? That's just the way it goes. Or else you'd end up like Amy Schumer, whose ratings were so bad that they had to get rid of the rating system altogether on Netflix. That's bad. Yeah, I'm sure it was the alt-right that got those ratings so low and has nothing to do with her terrible comedy.
True, that's true.
There are comedians who pride themselves on being offensive. It is what we go to get away from the everyday grind, to go see these shows and to see people say things that we would never probably say ourselves.
And they won't shut up about it.
And that's kind of the whole point behind comedy. Now, at least I thought that was the point of comedy, but apparently people are up in arms over this joke that Matt Rife said about a waitress with a black eye that was specifically meant to be offensive. So to set up the joke's about Baltimore and how Baltimore is a rougher place in Maryland compared to, say, the beaches in Maryland. So the context of the joke is something that you need to know before we go into the joke, or else this joke could be twisted and come off a lot rougher than it was meant to be.
I've only been to Baltimore one time. I ate lunch there, and the hostess who seats you at the restaurant had a black eye. A full black eye. And it wasn't like, what happened? It was pretty obvious what happened.
So the context of the joke is that Baltimore is so rough that even the waitress has a black eye, and they all know how she got the black eye. It was domestic violence, most likely, right? So I think it's important to explain the context of the joke. He's not praising domestic violence. He's saying this area is so rough that even my hostess has a black eye. But it's what comes next people seem to be angry about.
We couldn't get over the fact that we're like, this is the face of the company? Like, this is where you have greeting people? And my boy who I was with was like, yeah, I feel bad for her, man. I feel like they should put her in the kitchen or something where nobody has to see her face, you know? And I was like, yeah, but I feel like if she could cook, she wouldn't have that black eye.
It doesn't take a genius to realize that he's saying that if she could cook, she wouldn't have a black eye, suggesting that her significant other didn't like the fact that she cooked so badly that he punched her in the face, which, first off, no domestic violence is ever okay, but when you're at a comedy show and you're going there specifically to hear shocking things, you have to keep in mind that this is not everyday life. These are jokes. These are things that are said to make you go, oh my God, right? Like, that is the whole purpose of being a stand-up comedian. Now, just to cover his tracks, he literally points out that this joke was designed to be offensive. So he's testing the room. He wants to see what kind of crowd he's dealing with tonight, because in the title it says natural selection, which means that he is naturally selecting his audience. I actually think that that's clever marketing on his part.
Just testing the water, seeing if y'all are gonna be fun or not. Just wanted to see. Just wanted to see.
Now, this is by far the most offensive joke that Matt says during his whole thing. He put it right at the very front just to get it out of the way, I guess. Which also, I think, is what has sparked all the controversy behind it. And now everybody's talking about Matt Rife's special, like me. Which I think, again, genius marketing. Might as well just put the most offensive joke right in the beginning of the set, get everybody talking about it, or you're going to turn it off. But here's the point, right? You don't have to see Matt Rife. You can click off. You can watch something else. You can go watch Hannah Gatsby again. Why you would want to do that? I have no effing clue. But you know what? Some people can't handle it, and that's okay.
You can't handle the truth.
He literally has said this about offensive comedy.
Cancel culture is definitely a real thing. I've lost fans, but the way I see it, I go that I'm just not for them. That's fine. You don't have to like me. Funny is subjective.
And that's 100% truth. Funny is subjective. Not everything I think is funny is everything you're going to think is funny. Like, how many dudes out there still laugh at fart jokes? You might be like, poop and farts are so gross. And meanwhile, I might be like, dude, fart it. It's all a matter of perspective, guys. Just remember that. But that didn't stop people from digging deep and trying to find things to bring up about Matt and his past. When the cancel mob comes after you, they come after you for everything you've ever done in your whole entire life. God forbid they ever come for me, because there's a laundry list of things I used to do when I was a drug addict that I would definitely be canceled for. I never hurt anybody or did anything like that, but I was just an embarrassment to myself. So one of the things they brought up was this appearance on Wild 'N Out where he was with Zendaya and he was trying to make her laugh by spitting water out of her mouth, and he ends up touching her face. Now, is it creepy? Yeah, but is it cancelable? Debatable. You judge for yourself.
You're mixed. I want to be black. Let's make a lifestyle movie. Spit that water out so I can get your number, please.
Now, some of the cast members on Wild 'N Out got really mad at him and yelled at him and said, "She's too young," to which one of the other cast members that was on his team said, "No, he's 19, she's 18, that's not too young." Again, I say, it's creepy, you should never walk up and touch someone's face, but is it worth this guy losing his whole career off of? No, he was trying to make her laugh. You know, sometimes people do dumb things to make people laugh. That was weird. Andy Dick used to lick people's face, and we all saw how he turned out. Hopefully Matt Rife is not out there touching people's faces anymore. Again, I digress. This is what the cancel culture mob comes up with. They find everything you possibly do. If he can't get canceled for a special, he has to get canceled for something else he's done in his past. Personally, I think it's time that we all grow up and realize that comedy is meant to be a bit offensive. Alright, if he's not in there saying racist stuff, which even that sometimes can be funny, you shouldn't be going to see comedy. Like, you're not forced to watch these comedians. You don't have to sit down and watch Matt Rife, alright? You don't have to watch him. You can watch someone else if you don't like the way he does comedy. You know what I want to do tonight? I want to go out and I want to see somebody who just totally offends me. But since this is aired, he's grown 200,000 followers, so he's growing massively. So that means much more people find him funny than they do offensive. So there's actually a YouTuber who I actually am very fond of. I think he's incredibly talented. He goes by the name Film Cooper. He went in on Matt Rife for this special, but I think he totally missed the point. Now, here's the thing. Film Cooper's audience is pretty much the same thing as Matt Rife, so like maybe he's looking at Matt Rife as a competitor or something, but he totally misses the whole point of Matt Rife's purpose for doing this. So this is what he had to say.
But when you consider the fact that, his entire audience is comprised of a very large majority women, it kind of puts into context what he's doing here, where this is a very intentional thing. To put this at the beginning, like, a comedy special is written, like, he plans this whole thing out specifically, I guess, to let the audience know, hey, this isn't for the girls. I know y'all know me for being handsome, and that's why I have everything that I have, but the only people that actually care about that, let's alienate all of them. And by the way, my question is, for what purpose?
Well, the purpose is, Mr. Film Cooper, is that he wants to get rid of all the people who can't take a joke. That's simply what it comes down to. Nobody wants to be in an audience full of people who are very sensitive and easily offended. I'm offended. Yeah, well, I'm offended that you're offended. Well, I'm offended that you're offended that I'm offended. What are we offended by? That makes your job incredibly unfun. And seeing as he's grown 200,000 subscribers since this controversy all started, it's working for him. Now, Film Cooper goes on to say that he expects Matt to have a very successful career with Middle America, which is basically his backhanded compliment of saying, you know, this guy's gonna basically become a Andrew Tate. But that's not true. And secondly, why does everybody crap on Middle America? That's where we get like most of our farming stuff. Middle America, I got your back, bro. It's time to change the narrative. I could go through every single comedian special and sit there and virtue signal the whole time about how wrong they are. But that defeats the whole entire purpose of comedy. The idea of comedy is to be shocking and to be funny and to be against the norm. It's not meant to be taken seriously. And nowhere in here did he say, yeah, she had that coming. You don't want to put yourself in a situation like H3H3 where you create an audience of people who are just waiting for you to fuck up.
So there's lots of people coming here saying that I shouldn't be talking about this.
That is not fun. Like, if you watch this video and you think I'm doing something offensive, just don't watch me. It's simple as that. Yeah, I'm a small YouTuber, so I don't have a whole lot of people watching me anyway. But this exact sentiment is the reason why comedy is in such a weird state like it is. Personally, I think the comedians love the fact that this stuff happens to them. Like, this couldn't be better publicity for Matt Rife. And yeah, why wouldn't he want to branch out to a male audience? He could have female and male audience. He's missing half of a demographic. That's just good marketing, in my opinion.
Saying that this one decision that he's made, this one stupid decision, is going to limit what he could have done forever.
My question is, what could he have done? What more could he possibly want than be a household name, which he now is? How dare you market to men, you misogynistic bastard. His Netflix special is #1, and guess what? It's gonna go back to being #1. Did what happened with Dave Chappelle ruin his career, or did it just make people remember just how great of a comedian Dave Chappelle is? I'm sorry, film. I enjoy your content. If you're watching this, hi. Keep up the great work. But I just disagree with you on this one, man. I feel like this easily just put Matt Rife into the cosmos as far as being exposed to a much larger audience. Which, why wouldn't he want that? Why wouldn't he want more men to come to his shows along with the women? And he's not completely alienating women. He's just alienating the ones that don't find what he does funny. And that's perfectly okay. You don't want to create a dangerous environment in your audience where the minute you say something that nobody agrees with, they come for your head.
Okay, great.
I guarantee after this, if he says something offensive in the future, nobody will care, because that is his style of comedy. As a comedian, just like an entertainer, you evolve, right? You evolve. And it's okay to evolve in a direction that doesn't suit everybody. Danny Tanner, for instance. Bob Saget. On TV, he was the most wholesome family man you could think of. But if you ever went and saw his comedy, he was vulgar, he was offensive and grotesque. George Carlin. Some of the best comedians in the world were offensive comedians. I think, why wouldn't you want to fit in with that? Maybe that's who he looked up to. Nobody wants to play it safe all the time. Are we really going to come for this guy's head? Write in the comments. What do you think? Do you think the joke was terrible, or do you think that people are just taking it too seriously? If you were offended by this video, may I ask you to press this video here, because you might be offended by that one as well.